Daniela hasn't heard his voice in 4 years. 4 years since he vanished without explanation, leaving her pregnant and alone. 4 years of wondering if she'd done something wrong, if he'd ever cared at all. Now she's being humiliated in her workplace. Ex from college calling her a failure, a mistake, pathetic for raising a daughter alone. She's shaking, trying to hold it together. Then he walks in. Dae-jun, the man who abandoned her, standing there in an expensive suit like he owns the world, telling Trevor to back off, calling their daughter my daughter, like he has any right. Daniela can't breathe, can't process. The ghost who destroyed her life just became her defender, and she doesn't know whether to thank him or scream. Imagine, you're at work, your ex is publicly humiliating you, and then your baby daddy, who ghosted you 4 years ago, walks in like some action hero. That's Daniela right now. Is he saving her or about to make everything worse? Comment, run, or listen, and hit subscribe, because what happens next is absolutely insane. Look at you, still serving coffee at your age, the man sneered, his voice dripping with contempt as he leaned against the counter of the small cafe in Columbus, Ohio. What happened to all those big dreams you used to talk about, huh? Oh, wait. I remember now. You got yourself knocked up and ruined everything. Daniela from Uganda felt her hands tremble slightly as she wiped down the espresso machine, but she kept her voice steady. My daughter isn't a mistake, Trevor. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. Best thing? Trevor laughed, loud enough that other customers turned to look. You're living in some tiny apartment, working double shifts, wearing the same 3 outfits on rotation. Face it, you're a charity case, a cautionary tale. That's what you are. I'm doing just fine, thank you very much, Daniela replied, though her stomach churned with humiliation. The other customers were definitely watching now, and her coworker Bethany had frozen mid-pour, eyes wide. Trevor smirked, adjusting his expensive watch. Just fine? Is that what you call barely scraping by? You know, I ran into some of our old college friends last month. They asked about you. I told them the truth. That you threw away your scholarship, your future, everything. For what? To raise some kid alone? She's not some kid, Daniela snapped, her composure finally cracking. And I didn't throw anything away. I made a choice. A stupid choice, Trevor shot back. You could have had everything. Instead, you're here, smelling like burnt coffee beans, counting tips just to make rent. Pathetic, honestly. The cafe door chimed, and Daniela barely registered the new arrival through the fog of her anger and embarrassment. She was too focused on keeping herself from crying, from giving Trevor the satisfaction of seeing her breakdown. Excuse me, a voice cut through the tension like a blade. Smooth, accented, controlled. I believe you're standing in my way. Trevor turned, irritation flashing across his face, but whatever retort he'd prepared died on his lips. The man who just entered wasn't particularly tall, maybe 5'10", but he carried himself with the kind of quiet authority that made everyone in the cafe suddenly aware of his presence. His black suit was impeccably tailored, his dark hair styled perfectly, and his eyes were cold as winter steel as they assessed Trevor. I'm having a conversation, Trevor said, though his voice had lost some of its earlier bravado. No, the man replied calmly, stepping closer. You're harassing my daughter's mother. There's a difference. The cafe went absolutely silent. Daniela felt the blood drain from her face. She knew that voice. Hadn't heard it in 4 years. But she knew it. Her eyes snapped to the man's face, really seeing him for the first time, and her world tilted sideways. Dae-jun? The name came out as barely a whisper. Dae-jun's expression didn't change as he kept his gaze fixed on Trevor, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition? Maybe. Or pain. Step away from the counter, he said quietly, and somehow That quiet tone was more threatening than any shout could have been. Trevor glanced between them, confusion warring with his desire to save face. Wait, you're the father? Where the hell have you been for 4 years then? That, Dae-jun said, his voice dropping even lower, is absolutely none of your concern. What is your concern is leaving this establishment immediately before I make you leave. Are you threatening me? Trevor tried to laugh, but it came out shaky. Do you know who my father is? I don't care if your father is the governor himself, Dae-jun interrupted, and now there was steel in his tone. Leave. Now. Something in Dae-jun's face must have convinced Trevor that pushing further would be a very bad idea. He backed away, nearly stumbling over a chair, and practically fled from the cafe. The door chimed again as it swung shut behind him, and the remaining customers slowly returned to their drinks and conversations, though they kept sneaking glances at the drama unfolding at the counter. Daniela couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Dae-jun was here, standing in front of her after 4 years of absolute silence, looking exactly as she remembered, except somehow sharper, harder, more dangerous than the grad student she'd fallen for all those years ago. You, she started, then stopped. What was she supposed to say? There were about 1,000,000 questions fighting for dominance in her mind, each one more urgent than the last. What are you doing here? Dae-jun finally turned to face her fully, and Daniela saw something complicated pass across his features. Regret, maybe. Or longing. I came to see my daughter, he said simply, and to make things right, if you'll let me. Make things right? Daniela heard her voice rising and didn't care. You disappeared. You were just gone. No phone call, no text, no email. Nothing for 4 years. And now you just show up and think you can... What? Play happy family. Yana, he started, using the nickname only he had ever called her. Don't. She cut him off, her hand slicing through the air. Don't you dare act like you have the right to call me that. You lost that right when you vanished into thin air. Bethany cleared her throat awkwardly. Daniela, maybe you should take your break. I can handle things for a bit. Daniela wanted to refuse, wanted to tell Dae-jun to leave just like Trevor had, but he'd said he came to see their daughter. Their daughter. Jada, who asked about her father sometimes with those big, curious eyes, who'd created an entire fantasy version of him in her mind, because Daniela had never been able to bring herself to tell her 4-year-old the truth, that she didn't actually know where he'd gone or why. Fine, she said, tightly, untying her apron. But not here. There's a park 2 blocks down. Dae-jun nodded, his expression unreadable. I'll wait outside. When he left, Bethany immediately grabbed Daniela's arm. Girl, who is that? And why does he look like he just walked off the set of some K-drama? And did he really just scare off Trevor like that? Because damn. Not now, Beth, Daniela muttered, her hands shaking as she hung up her apron. I need a minute to process this. Does he really not know about Jada? Like, at all? I tried to tell him, Daniela said, grabbing her jacket from the back room. I called. I texted. I even went to his apartment. But he was already gone. Just gone. Like he'd never existed. Bethany's expression softened. And now he's back. And now he's back, Daniela echoed hollowly. The walk to the park felt surreal. Dae-jun kept pace beside her, but didn't try to touch her or make conversation, which she was grateful for because she honestly didn't know what she'd do if he tried. They found a bench away from the playground where a few other parents were watching their kids and sat down with careful space between them. Talk, Daniela said flatly. Explain. You owe me that much at least. Dae-jun was quiet for a long moment, his hands clasped together. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, measured. My father died. Suddenly. Heart attack. I got the call while I was in advanced biochem, remember? The day you were going to tell me about the pregnancy. Daniela's breath caught. She did remember. He'd gotten a phone call during their study session and had gone pale, then rushed out. She'd waited for hours, finally going home around midnight. The next day, she'd gone to his apartment to tell him about the baby, only to find it completely empty. I flew back to Seoul that night, Dae-jun continued. I meant to call you, to explain. But when I got there, everything changed. My father wasn't just any businessman, Yana. He was involved in things. Dangerous things. Things I didn't know about until he died, and suddenly I was expected to take over. What kind of things? Daniela asked, though part of her wasn't sure she wanted to know. Dae-jun looked at her directly then, and she saw something dark and complicated in his eyes. My family has connections, influence, power, the kind that doesn't ask politely. When my father died, I inherited all of it, along with his enemies, his debts, his obligations. It wasn't safe for me to contact you. It wasn't safe for anyone close to me. So you just decided to cut me off completely, without even telling me why? I had your phone tapped, he said bluntly. Your apartment watched. I made sure you were safe, that you had everything you needed. The scholarship that suddenly covered your full tuition. The anonymous donor who paid for your prenatal care. The inheritance from a distant relative you'd never heard of. That was all me, Yana. I couldn't be there. But I tried to take care of you from the shadows. Daniela stared at him, her mind reeling. The inheritance. That was you? But the lawyer said, I know what the lawyer said. I paid him well to maintain the fiction. Dae-jun's jaw tightened. It was the only way I could help without putting you in danger. My father's enemies were watching, waiting to see who I cared about so they could use you against me. If they'd known about you, about our child. Don't, Daniela said sharply. Don't you dare try to make this sound noble. You had 4 years, Dae-jun. 4 years to figure out how to contact me safely, to tell me the truth, to at least let me know you were alive. Instead, I spent every single day wondering if I'd done something wrong. If you just decided you didn't want me anymore, if... Her voice broke, and she hated herself for it. Hated that after all this time, he could still make her feel this vulnerable. I know, Dae-jun said softly. I know I hurt you. There's no excuse for that. No justification that makes it okay. But things are different now. I've dealt with the threats, consolidated power, made it safe, or as safe as it can ever be in my world. And I want to be part of my daughter's life. I want to be part of your life, if you'll allow it. Just like that, Daniela laughed bitterly. You think you can just walk back in after 4 years and play daddy? It doesn't work like that. I know it doesn't, he agreed. I'm not expecting forgiveness. I'm not even expecting you to let me near her right away. But I'm here, Yana. I'm staying. And I'm going to prove to you that I'm not going anywhere this time. Daniela wanted to tell him to leave, to get out of her life and stay out. But when she opened her mouth, what came out was, she looks like you. Jada. She has your eyes, your stubborn chin. She's brilliant and curious, and she asks about you sometimes. Asks why she doesn't have a daddy like the other kids. Something cracked in Dae-jun's carefully controlled expression. What do you tell her? I tell her that you love her very much, but you had to be far away, Daniela said quietly. I refused to let her think she wasn't wanted, even if I wasn't sure it was true. Because whatever else you are, Dae-jun, you're her father, and she deserves better than thinking her father didn't care. I care, he said fiercely. God, Yana, I've thought about you both every single day. Every decision I made, every risk I took. It was to make sure I could come back to you safely, to make sure my daughter could grow up without looking over her shoulder. Then prove it, Daniela challenged, not with money or gifts or grand gestures. Prove you're here for the long haul. Prove you're not going to disappear again the second things get difficult. I will, Daejun promised. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, I will. They sat in silence for a while, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the park. Daniela's mind was spinning, trying to reconcile the man sitting beside her with the sweet grad student she'd fallen for, with the absent father she'd resented, with this new, dangerous stranger who'd scared off Trevor with barely a word. Why now? She finally asked. Why come back now, specifically? Daejun's expression darkened. Because I found out about Trevor, about how he's been harassing you, spreading rumors at his father's country club about you, making your life difficult. Nobody treats you like that, Yana. Nobody. I can handle Trevor, Daniela said, though part of her was secretly pleased that Daejun cared. He's all bark and no bite. Maybe, Daejun allowed, but you shouldn't have to handle him at all. You shouldn't have to handle any of this alone. I'm not alone, Daniela corrected. I have Jada. I have friends. I have a life that I've built without you. I know you do, he said quietly, and I'm not trying to take that away or change it. I just want to be part of it, if you'll let me. Daniela's phone buzzed then, and she pulled it out to see a text from her neighbor Carolyn. Jada's asking when you'll be home. She wants to show you her new drawing. Looking at that text, thinking about her daughter waiting at home, Daniela made a decision that she hoped she wouldn't regret. Come to dinner, she said abruptly. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. I'll text you my address, assuming you don't already have it. A ghost of a smile crossed Daejun's face. I have it. But I'd appreciate the text anyway. This doesn't mean I forgive you, Daniela warned. This doesn't mean anything except that I'm willing to give you a chance. One chance. If you screw this up, if you hurt her, I won't, Daejun interrupted. I swear to you, on everything I am, I won't hurt either of you. Not again. Daniela stood, and he stood with her. They faced each other awkwardly for a moment, and she saw him reach out slightly, then stop himself. Good, she thought. She wasn't ready for him to touch her, wasn't ready for any of this, really. But ready or not, it was happening. 6 o'clock, she repeated. Don't be late. And Daejun, don't bring expensive gifts or try to buy her affection. Just be yourself. The person I used to know, before everything got complicated. I'll do my best, he promised. As Daniela walked away, heading back to finish her shift at the cafe, she could feel his eyes on her back. Part of her wanted to turn around, to say something more, but she forced herself to keep walking. This was already more than she'd thought she'd ever get. A chance to have answers, to maybe give her daughter what she'd always wanted. But as she pushed through the cafe door and saw Bethany's eager, curious face, Daniela couldn't help but wonder if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. Or if maybe, just maybe, Daejun was telling the truth about wanting to make things right. Only time would tell. Back at the park. Daejun remained standing long after Daniela had disappeared from view. He pulled out his phone and made a call, his expression hardening as someone picked up on the other end. It's done, he said in Korean. I've made contact. Now, make sure Trevor Hutchinson understands that he's to stay far away from Daniela Park and her daughter. If he so much as looks in their direction again. He paused, letting the threat hang in the air. Make sure he understands very clearly. He hung up and allowed himself a small moment of vulnerability, his carefully controlled expression cracking to reveal the desperate hope underneath. He'd been planning this reunion for months, waiting for the right moment, the right circumstances. Seeing that man mock Daniela, demean her, treat her like she was worth nothing. It had taken every ounce of his self-control not to do something he'd regret. But he'd promised himself he'd be better. For Yana. For Joda. For the family he'd lost 4 years ago, and was determined to reclaim, no matter what it took. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. Daniela made it through the rest of her shift on autopilot, her mind 1,000 miles away. Bethany kept shooting her curious looks, but mercifully didn't press for details, probably sensing that Daniela was barely holding it together, as it was. When she finally got home to her small but cozy 2-bedroom apartment in the Clintonville neighborhood, she found Jada exactly where she expected, curled up on the couch with Carolyn, watching some animated movie about talking animals. "Mama!" Jada squealed, launching herself off the couch and running over. "Look what I drew. It's you and me, and I added a daddy too because Keisha at preschool said everyone has a daddy somewhere." Daniela's heart clenched as she looked at the crayon drawing. Sure enough, there were 3 stick figures. One with brown skin and long hair, one small with pigtails, and one tall with dark hair. The tall one had Jada's characteristic dramatic smile, teeth and all. "It's beautiful, baby girl," Daniela managed, pulling her daughter into a tight hug. "Absolutely beautiful." Carolyn caught her eye over Jada's head, her expression questioning. Daniela gave a tiny shake of her head. Not now. She'd fill Carolyn in later, after Jada was asleep. "How about we make your favorite for dinner?" Daniela suggested, setting Jada down. "Mac and cheese with the fancy breadcrumbs on top." "Yes!" Jada pumped her little fist in the air. "Can we have the carrot sticks too? The ones you make into little swords?" "Of course we can," Daniela laughed, some of the tension easing from her shoulders. This was what mattered. This perfect, brilliant, beautiful little girl who made everything worthwhile. Whatever happened with Dae-Jun, whatever complications arose from his return, she had to remember that. Later, after Jada was bathed and tucked into bed with her favorite stuffed elephant, Daniela poured 2 glasses of wine and settled on the couch with Carolyn. "Okay," Carolyn said immediately. "Spill." "Bethany texted me that some gorgeous Korean guy showed up at the cafe and scared off Trevor. Then you left with him looking like you'd seen a ghost. What's going on?" Daniela took a long sip of wine, gathering her thoughts. "He's back. Jada's father. He just showed up out of nowhere." Carolyn's eyes went wide. "Wait, what? The guy who disappeared 4 years ago? The one you said you'd never see again?" "That's the one," Daniela confirmed tiredly. "Apparently, he had reasons for leaving. Good reasons. Maybe. I don't know. His father died, and there's some family business stuff that got complicated and dangerous. He says he's been protecting us from the shadows this whole time. Do you believe him?" "I don't know," Daniela admitted. "Part of me wants to. Part of me remembers how much I loved him before everything went wrong. But the other part, the part that spent months crying myself to sleep, that had to explain to a 2-year-old why other kids have daddies, but she doesn't. That part wants to tell him to leave and never come back." Carolyn reached over and squeezed her hand. "What are you going to do?" "I invited him to dinner tomorrow," Daniela said, "to meet Jada properly. Is that crazy? Tell me if that's crazy." "It's not crazy," Carolyn said slowly. "It's scary as hell, probably, but not crazy. Jada deserves to know her father if he's genuinely here to stay. And you deserve answers. What if he leaves again?" The question came out small, vulnerable. What if he decides this is too hard, too normal, too boring compared to whatever dangerous life he's living? What if Jada gets attached and then he disappears? "Then you'll handle it," Carolyn said firmly. "The same way you've handled everything else life's thrown at you. You're stronger than you think, Yana. You've built a good life for you and Jada. Nobody can take that away, not even him." Daniela wanted to believe that, wanted to feel as confident as Carolyn sounded. But as she lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, all she could think about was Dae-Jun's eyes when he'd looked at her. The regret there, the longing, the promise that he was here to stay. She'd believed his promises before. Look where that had gotten her. But maybe this time would be different. She had to at least give him the chance to prove it. The next day dragged on forever. Daniela found herself checking the clock every 5 minutes during her shift, her stomach twisting with nerves. She'd barely slept, her mind running through 1,000 different scenarios of how dinner could go, most of them ending badly. "You're going to wear a hole in the floor," Bethany commented around noon, watching Daniela pace behind the counter during a lull. "He's really got you worked up, huh?" "I just keep thinking about what to tell Jada," Daniela confessed. "How do you explain to a 4-year-old that the daddy she's been asking about is suddenly here? What if she doesn't like him? What if she does like him and then he—" "Stop," Bethany interrupted gently. "You're spiraling. Take it one step at a time, okay? Just get through tonight. Tomorrow can worry about itself." Daniela nodded, but the anxiety didn't ease. By the time her shift ended at 4, she was practically vibrating with nervous energy. She stopped by the grocery store on the way home, grabbing ingredients for her grandmother's ground nut stew. Comfort food, something that always made everything feel a little better. Carolyn had picked Jada up from preschool and was helping her with a puzzle when Daniela got home. "Mama," Jada called out without looking up, "we're making a dinosaur. It has 100 pieces." 50, Carolyn corrected with a smile, "but close enough." Daniela set the groceries down and crouched beside her daughter. "Hey, baby girl, I need to talk to you about something important." Jada finally looked up, her dark eyes, so much like Daejoon's it hurt, widening. "Am I in trouble?" No, nothing like that," Daniela assured her quickly. "It's just, remember how you asked about your daddy? About why he wasn't here?" Jada nodded seriously, setting down her puzzle piece. "Well," Daniela took a deep breath. "He's been away for a long time because he had some very important things he had to do far away. But now he's back, and he wants to meet you. He's coming for dinner tonight." The reaction was immediate. Jada's entire face lit up like Christmas morning. "Really? My daddy's coming here? Tonight? Is he tall? Does he like dinosaurs? Does he know how to do cartwheels? Can he—" "Slow down," Daniela laughed despite her nerves. "I don't know about the cartwheels, but yes, he's coming tonight. And I need you to understand something, okay? This is all very new, so we're going to take it slow. No pressure on anyone." "Okay," Jada agreed, readily, though she was practically bouncing with excitement. "What should I wear? Should I wear my princess dress? Or my shirt with the sparkles?" "Whatever makes you feel comfortable," Daniela said, exchanging a look with Carolyn over Jada's head. Carolyn gave her an encouraging thumbs up before quietly slipping out, leaving them to their preparations. By 5:30, the apartment smelled amazing. Rich peanut sauce, spiced rice, plantains sizzling in the pan. Jada had changed outfits 3 times before settling on her favorite purple dress with butterflies, and she'd positioned herself by the window, watching for any sign of arrival. "Mama, what if he doesn't like me?" Jada asked suddenly, her earlier excitement giving way to worry. Daniela's heart clenched. She abandoned the stove and went to kneel beside her daughter. "Baby girl, listen to me. He's going to love you. How could he not? You're smart and funny and kind and the best 4-year-old in the entire world. But what if—" The doorbell rang. Jada gasped, grabbing Daniela's hand so tightly it almost hurt. Daniela felt her own pulse kick into overdrive as she stood, smoothing down her simple blue dress. Not too fancy, not too casual, hopefully just right. "Ready?" she asked Jada. Jada nodded, though she'd suddenly gone shy, half hiding behind Daniela's legs as they approached the door. Daniela opened it to find Daejoon standing there in dark jeans and a simple gray sweater, dressed down from yesterday's intimidating suit. But somehow that made him look even more dangerous. More real. He was holding a small wrapped box, but his attention immediately went to the little girl peeking out from behind Daniela's legs. "Hi," he said softly, his voice gentler than Daniela had ever heard it. He crouched down slowly, bringing himself to Jada's eye level. "You must be Jada. I'm your father." "Daejoon." Jada stared at him for a long moment, her grip on Daniela's leg loosening slightly. "You have the same eyes as me," she observed finally. Mama said you were far away doing important things. I was, Dae-jun agreed, and Daniela heard the emotion he was trying to keep controlled. But I'm here now, and I'm very happy to meet you. You're even more beautiful than I imagined. Did you know, Jada said, warming up slightly, that I can count to 100 in both English and Korean? Mama taught me. Want to hear? I would love to hear that, Dae-jun said seriously. But maybe after dinner? It smells amazing, and I haven't had home cooking in a very long time. They moved inside, and Daniela noticed how Dae-jun's eyes swept the apartment, taking in the photos on the walls, the toys scattered in the corner, the life she'd built without him. His expression was complicated, but he didn't comment, just followed them to the small dining table. Dinner started out awkward. Jada kept stealing glances at Dae-jun between bites, clearly fascinated, but still uncertain. Dae-jun, for his part, seemed almost afraid to speak, as if worried he'd say the wrong thing and shatter the fragile peace. So, Daniela said finally, breaking the silence. Jada learned a new song in preschool this week. What was it called again, baby? The Itsy Bitsy Spider, Jada announced, then launched into an enthusiastic but slightly off-key rendition, complete with hand motions. Dae-jun watched her with such intense focus, such obvious love, that Daniela had to look away. It was too much. Seeing him see their daughter for the first time. Really. See her. That was wonderful, Dae-jun said when she finished. You know, I used to sing a lot when I was your age too. Different songs, maybe. But I loved music. Really? Jada leaned forward, interested. What kind of songs? Korean folk songs, mostly. My mother, your grandmother, she used to sing them to me before bed. He hesitated, then added quietly, maybe I could teach you some if you'd like. If your mother says it's okay. Jada turned hopeful eyes to Daniela. Can he, Mama? Please. We'll see, Daniela said carefully. Let's just focus on tonight for now. After dinner, Jada insisted on showing Dae-jun her room, dragging him by the hand to point out every toy, every drawing, every important possession. Daniela followed, watching as her daughter chattered away, all her earlier shyness evaporating. And this is Mr. Trunk, Jada said, holding up her stuffed elephant. He's my best friend. And this is the picture I drew of you. See? I made you really tall, because Mama said you were tall. And I gave you a big smile, because I thought you probably smiled a lot. Dae-jun took the drawing with careful hands, studying it like it was a priceless artifact. This is incredible, Jada. Can I keep this? Really? Jada's eyes went wide. You want to keep my drawing? More than anything, he said seriously. When it was time for Jada's bedtime routine, she surprised them both by asking, Can Daddy help tuck me in? Daniela's breath caught at hearing Jada call him that, so naturally, so easily. She looked at Dae-jun, who looked simultaneously terrified and hopeful. If your mama says it's okay, he said carefully. Okay, Daniela agreed, her voice a little thick. But I'm supervising. It's a very specific routine. It was. Watching Dae-jun fumble his way through the bedtime routine, following Daniela's whispered instructions about the right way to tuck the blanket, which stuffed animals went where, the exact number of kisses required. When he leaned down to press a gentle kiss to Jada's forehead, murmuring something in Korean that Daniela didn't quite catch, she had to turn away to hide the tears threatening to spill. Good night, baby girl, Daniela said, stepping in for her own goodnight kiss. Sweet dreams. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy. Jada's eyes were already drooping, exhaustion from the excitement catching up with her. They dimmed the lights and stepped out, pulling the door mostly closed. In the hallway, Daniela finally let herself break down a little, pressing her hand over her mouth to muffle the sob. Yana. Dae-jun reached for her, then stopped himself. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. You didn't, she managed. It's just, she called you Daddy. So easily, like it was the most natural thing in the world. And you were so good with her, and I just... She couldn't finish the sentence, couldn't articulate the complicated tangle of emotions. Relief that he'd shown up, anger that he'd missed so much, hope that maybe this could work, fear that she was setting them both up for heartbreak. "Come," Dae-jun said softly. "Let's talk. Really talk." They settled on the couch with tea. Daniela had made it automatically, the way she used to when they'd study together back in college, pulling all-nighters over biochemistry textbooks. Dae-jun noticed. She could tell by the way his expression softened. "You still remember how I take my tea," he observed quietly. "Apparently, some things stick," Daniela said, not willing to admit how many times she'd made tea this exact way over the years, pretending just for a moment that he was still there. They sat in silence for a moment before Dae-jun spoke. "She's perfect, Yana. Absolutely perfect. You've done an amazing job raising her." "I did what I had to do," Daniela said simply. "What any mother would do." "Not every mother," he disagreed. "You gave her love, stability, confidence. She's happy. That's everything." "She asked about you a lot when she was younger," Daniela admitted, "especially when she started preschool and noticed other kids had fathers. I didn't know what to tell her. I didn't want to lie, but I also didn't want to tell her that you just disappeared." Dae-jun's jaw tightened. "I know you probably don't believe this, but leaving you was the hardest thing I've ever done. There were days I almost said to hell with the danger, with everything, and came back anyway. But I couldn't risk bringing that world to your doorstep. Couldn't risk you or Jada getting caught in the crossfire." "What world exactly?" Daniela asked. "You mentioned your father's business yesterday, but you didn't really explain. What are we talking about here, Dae-jun? What kind of danger?" He was quiet for a long moment, weighing his words. "My family has influence in certain circles. Import-export businesses, real estate, investments, all legitimate on the surface. But underneath," he paused, "there are connections to less legitimate operations, protection services, information brokerage, conflict resolution. My father kept me sheltered for most of it while he was alive. I was supposed to be the respectable son, the one with the fancy American degree who'd give the family legitimacy. But then he died," Daniela said slowly. "And I inherited everything," Dae-jun confirmed, "including enemies who thought I'd be an easy target. Spoiled rich kid who'd never gotten his hands dirty. They were wrong about that. But it took me 2 years to prove it. 2 years of consolidating power, of making deals and breaking the ones who wouldn't deal, of becoming someone I never wanted to be. And now I'm in control. The threats have been neutralized. The organization is stable, and I can finally..." He looked at her directly. "I can finally come home. To you and Jada, if you'll have me." Daniela wanted to say yes, wanted it so badly it scared her. But she'd learned the hard way that wanting something didn't make it safe or smart. "I need to know something," she said. "Is this world you're talking about? Is it still dangerous? Could it hurt Jada?" "I won't lie to you," Dae-jun said seriously. "There's always some risk in my line of work. But I've taken precautions. Security measures you won't even notice. People watching from a distance, making sure you're both safe. Nobody will touch either of you, Yana. I'll make sure of that." "People are already watching us." Daniela's voice rose slightly. "Without my permission, without me even knowing?" "I'm sorry," Dae-jun said, and he actually looked it. "I should have asked first. But after what happened with Trevor yesterday, I needed to make sure you were protected, that nobody else would try to hurt you." "What did you do to Trevor?" Daniela asked suspiciously. "Nothing permanent," Dae-jun assured her. "Just made sure he understood that bothering you again would be unwise. He won't be a problem anymore." Daniela didn't know how to feel about that. Part of her was grateful. Trevor had been making her life difficult, spreading rumors among his father's wealthy friends, trying to poison her reputation. But the other part was disturbed by how casually Daijun talked about making threats, about having people watched. "I can't live like that," she said finally. "Looking over my shoulder, wondering who's watching, worrying that some enemy from your past will decide to use us against you. Jada deserves better than that. She deserves normal." "I know," Daejun said quietly, "and I'm going to give that to her, to both of you. Most of my business can be handled remotely now. I'm looking at properties here in Columbus, setting up a legitimate operation that can be my public face. In a few months, maybe less, I'll just be another businessman. Boring. Safe. Normal." "You really think you can walk away from that life?" Daniela challenged. "Just like that?" "I don't have to walk away completely," he explained. "I just have to step back from the day-to-day operations. Put the right people in charge, the ones I trust. It's already in motion, actually. Has been for 6 months now since I decided I was coming back." 6 months, Daniela thought. He'd been planning this for 6 months, and she'd had no idea. "You could have warned me," she said. "Given me some time to prepare instead of just showing up." "Would you have agreed to see me if I'd called first?" Daejun asked. "Honestly." Daniela opened her mouth to say yes, then closed it. Because he was right. If he'd called, she probably would have hung up, would have told him to stay away, that they were fine without him. "Probably not," she admitted reluctantly. "I needed to see you face to face," Daejun said. "Needed you to see that I was serious about this. About us. About being the father Jada deserves, and the partner you deserve." "Partner?" Daniela's heart kicked up. "Daejun, I can't just pick up where we left off. Too much has happened. Too much time has passed." "I know," he said quickly. "I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking for a chance, to prove myself, to earn back your trust, however long that takes. And if I say no, if I say you can see Jada but I don't want anything more than co-parenting?" Pain flashed across his face, but he nodded. "Then I'll accept that. Jada is the priority. She's what matters most. If all I can have is the chance to be her father, then I'll take it and be grateful." Daniela studied him, trying to see past the polished exterior to the man underneath, the man she'd loved once upon a time. "I need time," she said finally. "Time to process all of this, to figure out what's best for Jada. You can see her, but supervised visits for now, here at the apartment or somewhere public. And if at any point I think this is hurting her, if I think you're not serious about staying, I'll leave," Daejun finished. "I understand. And Yana, thank you for giving me this chance. I know I don't deserve it." "You don't," she agreed bluntly. "But Jada deserves to know her father, and maybe you deserve the chance to try to make this right." He stood to leave, and she walked him to the door. In the hallway, he turned back, his hand reaching up as if to touch her face, then falling. "Good night, Yana. Thank you for dinner. For everything." "Good night, Daejun," she said softly. After he left, Daniela leaned against the closed door, her mind spinning. She'd just agreed to let the man who'd broken her heart back into her life, into her daughter's life. Was she making a terrible mistake, or was she finally giving them all the chance at happiness they deserved? Only time would tell. The next few weeks fell into a strange new rhythm. Daejun came for dinner 3 times a week, always bringing some small, thoughtful gift for Jada. Not expensive toys or electronics, but things that showed he was paying attention. A book about the butterflies Jada loved, crayons in the exact shade of purple she preferred, a puzzle featuring dinosaurs. He was careful with Daniela, too, respectful of her boundaries, never pushing for more than she was willing to give. But she noticed things. The way he always made sure her tea was perfect, how he'd subtly fixed the leaky faucet in the kitchen without making a big deal of it. The way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't, watching, with longing and regret, and something that looked dangerously like love. Jada, for her part, was completely smitten with her father. She'd started calling him Appa, the Korean word he'd taught her, and insisted on showing him every drawing, every school project, every tiny achievement. Dae-jun soaked it all up like a man dying of thirst finally finding water. Carolyn had warned her, of course. "Just be careful," she'd said over coffee one afternoon, while Jada was at preschool. "I know he seems sincere now, but people don't change overnight. And his world. It sounds dangerous, Yana." "I know," Daniela had replied. "But I can't keep Jada from her father just because I'm scared. That wouldn't be fair to either of them." "Just promise me you'll protect yourself too," Carolyn had insisted. "Don't let him hurt you again." Daniela had promised, but as the weeks passed, she felt her defenses slowly crumbling. It was the little things that got her. The way Dae-jun remembered how she took her coffee, how he'd learned Jada's entire bedtime routine without being asked and executed it perfectly. The time she'd had a rough day at work and came home to find he'd brought ingredients for her favorite meal and cooked it himself. Not perfectly, but the effort alone had made her want to cry. One evening, about a month after his return, they were sitting on the couch after putting Jada to bed when Daniela's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and froze. "What is it?" Dae-jun asked, noticing her expression. "It's Trevor," she said, her stomach sinking. "I thought you said he wouldn't be a problem anymore." Dae-jun's expression darkened. "I did, and he won't be. Don't answer it." But the phone kept ringing, and then a text came through. "We need to talk. It's about your daughter." Daniela's blood ran cold. "He mentioned Jada," she said, showing Dae-jun the text. Dae-jun stood immediately, pulling out his own phone. "Stay here. Don't answer him. I'll handle this." "Handle it how?" Daniela demanded, standing too. "Dae-jun, what are you going to do?" "What I should have done the first time," he said grimly. "Made sure he understood that you and Jada are completely off limits." Before Daniela could respond, he was already calling someone, speaking rapidly in Korean. She caught a few words. Trevor's name. Something about a warning. Something that sounded like a threat. When he hung up, Daniela grabbed his arm. "You can't hurt him. I know he's awful, but you can't—" "I'm not going to hurt him," Dae-jun assured her, though his eyes were still cold. "I'm just going to make absolutely certain he understands the consequences of involving Jada and his petty grudge against you. By tomorrow morning, he'll have gotten the message." "What message?" "That you're under my protection now," Dae-jun said simply. "Mine and my family's. And nobody messes with what's mine." The possessiveness in his tone should have bothered her. But instead, Daniela felt a strange thrill run through her. It had been so long since anyone had protected her, since anyone had stood between her and the world. She'd been doing it alone for so long that she'd forgotten what it felt like to have someone on her side. "Thank you," she said quietly. Dae-jun's expression softened. "You don't have to thank me, Yana. Protecting you and Jada, it's not a favor. It's my responsibility. My privilege." He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and gently brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered on her cheek, and Daniela found herself leaning into the touch before she could stop herself. "I miss you," he said softly. "I know I have no right to say that, but I do. I miss talking to you, laughing with you, just being with you. These dinners, these few hours a week, they're wonderful, but they're not enough. I want more. I want everything." Daniela's breath caught. She should pull away, should remind him that trust wasn't rebuilt in a few weeks, should protect herself. But looking into his eyes, seeing the raw honesty there, "I miss you too," she admitted. "And that terrifies me." "It terrifies me too," Dae-jun confessed. Because I know how badly I hurt you. I know what I destroyed. And I'm scared that even if you give me another chance, I won't be able to fix it. That the damage is too deep. Maybe it is, Daniela said honestly. Or maybe we don't fix it. Maybe we build something new instead. Something stronger. Hope flared in his eyes. I'd like that. I'd like that very much. They stayed like that for a long moment, barely inches apart, the air between them charged with possibility. Then Daejun leaned forward and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. Respectful. Sweet. Nothing more. Good night, Yana, he whispered. Sweet dreams. After he left, Daniela touched her forehead where his lips had been and allowed herself, just for a moment, to hope that maybe things would work out after all. But life, as she'd learned, rarely went according to plan. The next morning, she woke to a dozen missed calls and frantic texts from Bethany. Turn on the news. Now. With trembling hands, Daniela grabbed the remote and flipped to the local news channel, and her blood turned to ice. Trevor Hutchinson had been arrested overnight in connection with some kind of financial fraud scheme. The details were still emerging, but apparently evidence had been uncovered linking him to embezzlement from his father's company, along with several other illegal activities. Daniela's phone rang. Daejun. Did you do this? She demanded as soon as she answered. I told you I'd handle it, he said calmly. By framing him for crimes? I didn't frame him for anything, Daejun corrected. Everything they found is real. He's been stealing from his father's company for months. I just made sure the evidence came to light, and that the investigation happened quickly. Daejun. He threatened Jada. He cut her off, his voice hard. He crossed a line. I made sure he'd be too busy dealing with his own problems to bother you again. That's all. Daniela wanted to be angry, wanted to lecture him about boundaries and going too far. But the truth was, she felt relieved. Trevor had been a dark cloud hanging over her for months, and now he was gone. Just no more surprises, okay? She said finally. If you're going to do something like this, tell me first. We're supposed to be partners. Or working toward that anyway. You're right, Daejun agreed immediately. I should have discussed it with you first. It won't happen again. Good, Daniela said, then added softly. And Daejun, thank you for protecting us, even if your methods are questionable. She could hear the smile in his voice when he replied. Anytime, Yana. Always. 3 weeks after Trevor's arrest, Daniela's life had settled into something almost resembling normal. Daejun had found an office space in the Short North District and was officially running some kind of import business. Legitimate, he'd assured her, though she suspected there were layers to his operation she didn't fully understand yet. More importantly, he'd started picking Jada up from preschool twice a week, taking her to the park or the library, or sometimes just for ice cream. Daniela had been nervous about it at first, but Jada came home glowing every time, chattering about everything Appa had shown her or taught her. Mama, guess what? Jada burst through the door one afternoon, Daejun following behind with an amused expression. Appa taught me how to say, I love you, in Korean. It's saranghae. Isn't that pretty? It's beautiful, Daniela agreed, trying not to melt at the sight of her daughter's joy. Did you have fun at the park? So much fun. We saw ducks, and Appa bought me bread to feed them, and then we went on the swings, and he pushed me so high I almost touched. The clouds! Jada was practically vibrating with excitement. Can we go again tomorrow? I have to work tomorrow, baby girl, Daejun said gently, crouching down to her level. But how about this weekend? We could go to the zoo, all 3 of us, if your mama wants to come. He looked up at Daniela hopefully, and she found herself nodding before she'd fully thought it through. Sure, the zoo sounds good. Yes, Jada pumped her fist. I want to see the lions and the elephants and the penguins. Then that's what we'll do, Daejun promised, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. Now go wash your hands for dinner, okay? After Jada scampered off, Dae-jun stood and faced Daniela. "Thank you for agreeing to come. I know you're busy, and I know you probably have a million other things you'd rather do on your day off, but—" "Stop!" Daniela interrupted. "I want to come. It'll be nice, the three of us doing something together as a family." The word family hung in the air, between them, heavy with meaning. Dae-jun's expression softened. "Family," he repeated quietly. "I like the sound of that." "Don't get too excited," Daniela warned, though she was smiling. "We're still figuring this out. Taking it slow, remember?" "Slow," he agreed. "Though I have to say, these past few weeks with you and Jada, they've been the happiest I've been in years. Maybe ever." Before Daniela could respond, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and frowned. "Unknown number. That's weird." "Don't answer it," Dae-jun said immediately, his expression shifting from soft to alert in a heartbeat. But Daniela had already hit accept. "Hello? Is this Daniela Park?" A woman's voice, cool and professional. "Yes. Who's asking?" "My name is Seo Yeon. I'm calling from Seoul. I believe you know my brother. Dae-jun." Daniela's eyes snapped to Dae-jun, who'd gone completely still. "Your brother," she repeated slowly. "Yes, I apologize for calling unannounced, but Dae-jun has been difficult to reach lately. I need to speak with him about family matters. Would you mind putting him on?" Daniela held out the phone to Dae-jun, whose jaw had tightened. He took it, stepping away slightly. "Nuna," he said in Korean, his tone carefully neutral. "This isn't a good time." Daniela couldn't understand the rapid Korean that followed, but she could hear the woman's voice rising, sharp and insistent. Dae-jun's responses got shorter, more clipped, until finally he said something that sounded like a warning and hung up. "That was my sister," he said unnecessarily, running a hand through his hair. "I'm sorry she bothered you. I don't know how she got your number." "What did she want?" Daniela asked, a bad feeling settling in her stomach. Dae-jun hesitated. "She wants me to come back to Seoul. There's some business situation that needs attention. She thinks I'm neglecting my responsibilities by staying here. Are you?" Daniela tried to keep her voice light, but fear crept in anyway. "Neglecting your responsibilities?" "No," he said firmly. "Everything's handled. She's just controlling. She thinks she knows what's best for the family, and she doesn't approve of me being here, of you and Jada." "She doesn't approve of us?" Daniela's voice went cold. "She doesn't even know us." "Exactly," Dae-jun said, "and she's not going to. My family in Seoul, they're complicated, Yana. My sister, especially. She has very specific ideas about who I should be with, what my life should look like. Ideas that don't include an American single mother and a daughter she didn't know existed until recently." "How recently?" Daniela demanded. "Last week," Dae-jun admitted. "She found out somehow. I was going to tell her eventually, but on my terms. This isn't how I wanted it to happen." Daniela felt like the ground was shifting under her feet. "So your family doesn't know about Jada, don't know about me. What does that make us, Dae-jun? Your dirty little secret?" "No," he said quickly, reaching for her hands. "God, no. You're not a secret. You're the most important thing in my life. Both of you. I wanted to establish myself here first, make sure everything was stable before bringing my family into it. They're judgmental, Yana, critical. I didn't want to expose you and Jada to that until I was sure I could protect you from it." "Protect us from your own family?" Daniela pulled her hands back. "That's what you're worried about? Not enemies or rival organizations, but your sister?" "You don't understand," Dae-jun said, frustration creeping into his voice. "Seo Yeon she's formidable. She took over certain aspects of the family business after our father died, and she doesn't like anything that threatens her control. Me being here, building a life separate from Seoul, it threatens her. So what's she going to do? Try to make you come back? She'll try, Dae-jun said grimly. She'll use every weapon in her arsenal. Guilt, obligation, family duty. But I'm not going anywhere, Yana. I meant what I said. I'm here to stay. Daniela wanted to believe him, wanted it desperately. But hearing that his family didn't approve, didn't even know about them properly, it brought back all her old fears. What if he chose them over her and Jada? What if family pressure became too much and he disappeared again? Mama, Jada's voice called from the bathroom. I can't reach the towel. I'll get it, Daniela said, grateful for the interruption. She needed space to think, to process. Maybe you should go, Dae-jun. It's been a long day. Pain flashed across his face, but he nodded. Okay, but Yana, this changes nothing. The zoo on Saturday, dinner next week. We're still on, right? Yeah, she said after a moment. We're still on? After he left, Daniela helped Jada with her towel and then sat on the edge of the bathtub, watching her daughter brush her teeth. She'd known Dae-jun's world was complicated, known there would be challenges, but facing the reality of his family's disapproval, that was something else entirely. Her phone buzzed with a text from Carolyn. Coffee tomorrow morning before your shift. You look like you need it. Daniela smiled, despite everything. Carolyn always knew. Definitely. 7 a.m. See you then. The next morning, Daniela found herself pouring out the whole story to Carolyn over steaming cups of coffee at their favorite diner in Clintonville. So his sister calls out of nowhere, doesn't even introduce herself properly, just demands to speak to him about family matters. Who does that? Someone who's used to getting her way, Carolyn observed, stirring sugar into her coffee. And who sees you as a threat. But why? I'm not trying to take him away from his family. I'm not asking him to choose between us. Maybe not, Carolyn said carefully. But by existing, by being important to him, you're changing his priorities. And from what you've said about this sister, she doesn't sound like someone who handles change well. He says she's controlling, that she thinks she knows what's best for everyone. Sounds delightful, Carolyn said dryly. So what are you going to do? What can I do? Daniela spread her hands. I can't control his family, can't make them accept me or Jada. I can only, I don't know. See how he handles it, I guess. See if he really meant what he said about staying. And if he didn't? If this sister convinces him to go back to Seoul? Then I pick up the pieces, Daniela said quietly. Again. And I make sure Jada understands it's not her fault. That she's loved and wanted and perfect just as she is. Carolyn reached across the table and squeezed her hand. You're a good mom, Yana. The best. And whatever happens, you and Jada are going to be fine. You've proven that already. I know, Daniela said. But I'd really like to not have to prove it again. You know, I'd really like for this to work out. Then fight for it, Carolyn urged. If Dae-jun is worth keeping, and it sounds like maybe he is, then don't let his sister scare you off. Stand your ground. Daniela nodded slowly. Carolyn was right. She'd faced down plenty of challenges over the past 4 years. One disapproving sister from Seoul wasn't going to break her. But when Saturday came and they headed to the Columbus Zoo, Daniela couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. Call it intuition or paranoia, but she kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. The day started out perfectly, though. Jada was beside herself with excitement, practically dragging them from exhibit to exhibit. Dae-jun had packed a picnic lunch, Korean-style kimbap, alongside Jada's favorite peanut butter sandwiches, and they found a shady spot under a tree to eat. This is nice, Daniela said, watching Jada chase after some birds. Really nice. Thank you for organizing this. Thank you for coming, Dae-jun replied. He was sitting close enough that their shoulders brushed, and Daniela found herself leaning into the contact instead of pulling away. Progress, she thought. About your sister, she started, but Dae-jun shook his head. Not today. Today is just us. You, me, and Jada. The rest of the world can wait. Daniela wanted to argue, wanted to insist they talk about it, but Jada came running back demanding they go see the penguins. Right now, and the moment passed, the penguin exhibit was crowded, families pressed close to the glass to watch the birds dive and swim. Dae-jun lifted Jada onto his shoulders so she could see better, and Daniela's heart clenched at the sight. Her daughter laughing, her boyfriend? Partner? Whatever Dae-jun was, smiling up at her with such obvious love. "Mama, look!" Jada pointed excitedly. "That one's doing a flip." Daniela was about to respond when she noticed a woman watching them from across the exhibit. Asian, elegantly dressed, her expression cold and assessing. Their eyes met, and the woman's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Dae-jun," Daniela said quietly, not taking her eyes off the woman. "Don't look now, but I think your sister just found us." Dae-jun went very still. He carefully lifted Jada down from his shoulders and turned, following Daniela's gaze. His expression hardened when he saw the woman. "Seo-yeon," he said, his voice flat. "What are you doing here?" "Is that any way to greet your sister?" Seo-yeon replied in perfect English, though her accent was heavier than Dae-jun's. She approached slowly, her eyes cataloging everything. Daniela's simple jeans and t-shirt, Jada's grass-stained knees, the casual intimacy between the three of them. "I came to meet the woman who so thoroughly captivated my brother. And this must be Joda, is it?" Daniela instinctively moved closer to Jada, who'd gone shy at the appearance of this stranger. "How did you know we'd be here?" "I have my ways," Seo-yeon said with a small smile. "I'm very good at finding things that wish to remain hidden." "We're not hiding," Dae-jun said sharply, "and you had no right to follow us." "I had every right," Seo-yeon countered. "You're my brother. My responsibility. And when you suddenly decide to abandon your duties in Seoul to play house with some American woman..." "Watch your tone," Dae-jun warned, and there was steel in his voice that made several nearby families glance over nervously. "Yana is not some American woman. She's Jada's mother. And if you can't speak respectfully, you can leave." Seo-yeon's eyes narrowed. "So it's true then. You've completely lost perspective. Father would be so disappointed." "Father is dead," Dae-jun said coldly, "and he doesn't get a say in my life anymore. Neither do you." "Mama." Jada tugged on Daniela's hand, her voice small. "Who is that lady? Why is she being mean to Appa?" Before Daniela could answer, Seo-yeon crouched down, bringing herself to Jada's level. Her expression softened slightly, though her smile remained calculated. "Hello, Jada. I'm your Aunt Seo-yeon, your father's sister. I've come a very long way to meet you." Jada looked uncertainly between the adults, clearly picking up on the tension. "You're Appa's sister. Like how Keisha has a sister." "Exactly like that," Seo-yeon confirmed, "and I've brought you a gift. Would you like to see it?" "Seo-yeon," Dae-jun said warningly. But Seo-yeon was already pulling out a small wrapped box, offering it to Jada. After a moment's hesitation and a nod from Daniela, Jada took it, carefully unwrapping the paper to reveal a beautiful carved wooden box inlaid with mother-of-pearl. "It's a music box," Seo-yeon explained, "from Korea. It plays a traditional lullaby that your father and I used to listen to as children. Your grandmother used to sing it." Jada opened the box carefully, and delicate music filled the air. Her eyes went wide with wonder. "It's so pretty. Thank you, Aunt Seo-yeon." "You're very welcome," Seo-yeon said, standing. Her eyes met Daniela's over Jada's head, and there was challenge there. "I hope we can get to know each other better. After all, if my brother is serious about building a life here, we're family now, whether we like it or not." The unspoken "and I don't like it" hung in the air. "Perhaps we should talk," Daniela said, keeping her voice level despite her racing heart. The adults, I mean. Somewhere Jada can play while we have a conversation. Seo Yan's eyebrows rose slightly, as if she hadn't expected Daniela to engage directly. How very American of you. Direct. I suppose we could find somewhere suitable. They ended up at a cafe just outside the zoo's exit, Jada happily coloring at a nearby table with her new music box beside her, while the adults sat in tense silence. So, Seo Yan said finally, stirring her tea with precise movements. You're the woman who convinced my brother to abandon his responsibilities. I didn't convince him to do anything, Daniela replied evenly. Dae-jun makes his own choices. I'm just living my life and trying to do right by our daughter. Our daughter, Seo Yan repeated. How convenient that she appeared just as my brother was establishing himself in Seoul. Tell me, did you plan that? Seduce him? Get pregnant? Wait for the right moment to pull him back? That's enough, Dae-jun snapped. Apologize. Now. I won't apologize for being cautious, Seo Yan said. You don't know this woman, Dae-jun. Not really. 4 years ago, maybe. But people change. How do you know she's not after your money? Your position? Because unlike you, Daniela said coolly, I don't measure people's worth by their bank accounts. I didn't even know Dae-jun was some kind of whatever he is. When we met, I knew him as a grad student who liked terrible action movies and made the world's worst coffee. That's the person I fell for. Not his money, not his family name. Just him. Something flickered in Seo Yan's eyes. Respect, maybe. Or reassessment. You have spirit, she admitted. That's something at least. But spirit alone won't protect you from the realities of my brother's world. You have no idea what you're getting into. Then help me understand, Daniela challenged. Instead of showing up and making accusations, how about you actually talk to me? Tell me what you're so worried about. Seo Yan was quiet for a long moment, studying Daniela. Finally, she said, My father built an empire from nothing. He was brilliant, ruthless when he needed to be, but also strategic. He knew how to balance the legitimate and illegitimate sides of our business. When he died, that balance was threatened. Rivals saw weakness. Partners started questioning their loyalties. And you and Dae-jun had to step up, Daniela finished. Yes. But Dae-jun, he wanted out. Always wanted out. He wanted the clean American life, the respectable degree, distance from the family business. Father allowed it because he thought Dae-jun would eventually come back, take over the legitimate operations while I handled the rest. But then father died, and suddenly there was no choice. Dae-jun had to come back. And he did, Daniela said. He came back, handled things, made it work. What's the problem? The problem, Seo Yan said, leaning forward, is that he worked for it, spent 2 years consolidating power, earning respect, proving he was worthy of father's legacy. And now, just when things are finally stable, he wants to walk away, to come here, to play happy family, to pretend he can be normal. But he can't. Our world doesn't work like that. You don't just leave. He's not leaving, Dae-jun interjected. I've told you this. I've set up systems, delegated responsibilities. The business runs fine without me micromanaging every detail. For now, Seo Yan said. But what happens when there's a crisis? When someone challenges your authority because you're too busy changing diapers to defend your territory? Jada's 4, Daniela said. She hasn't worn diapers in years. Try again. Despite herself, Seo Yan's lips twitched. My point stands. You're a distraction, a vulnerability, and in our world, vulnerabilities get exploited. So what do you want? Daniela asked bluntly. For me to break up with him? To keep Jada away from her father? That's not happening. I want, Seo Yan said carefully, for you to understand what you're asking of him. what it means for him to choose this life over the one he built in Seoul. I want you to be certain that you're worth the sacrifice. The words hit harder than any accusation. Daniela felt them settle in her chest, heavy and uncomfortable. Was she worth it? Was she asking too much? She's worth everything, Dae-jun said fiercely. Both of them are. And I'm not sacrificing anything, Seo-yeon. I'm choosing. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing what I want, instead of what's expected. If you can't accept that, if you can't be happy for me, then maybe you should get on a plane and go back to Seoul. Seo-yeon's expression remained unreadable, but something shifted in her eyes. You really mean that, she said softly. You really choose them over family. They are my family, Dae-jun corrected. Just as much as you are, maybe more, because I chose them. I didn't just inherit them. The words hung in the air, brutal in their honesty. Seo-yeon flinched just slightly, and for a moment, Daniela saw past the cold exterior to the hurt underneath. I see, Seo-yeon said finally. Then I suppose there's nothing more to discuss. She stood, gathering her purse. I'll be at the Marriott downtown for the next week. If you change your mind, little brother, if you remember where you came from and what you owe, you know where to find me. She started to leave, then paused, turning back to Daniela. Take care of him. He's stubborn and reckless, and too sentimental, for his own good. But he's also loyal and brave and worth keeping. Don't make me regret leaving him in your hands. With that, she swept out of the cafe, leaving Daniela and Dae-jun in shocked silence. Well, Daniela said finally, that was intense. Dae-jun let out a shaky laugh. That's one word for it. I'm sorry, Yana. I should have warned you better about what she was like. Should have prepared you. It's okay, Daniela said, though her hands were trembling slightly. I handled it. You were amazing, Dae-jun said, reaching across the table to take her hand. The way you stood up to her, didn't back down. I've never seen anyone face down Seo-yeon like that and come out unscathed. I wouldn't say unscathed, Daniela admitted. She got under my skin. Made me question whether I'm being selfish, asking you to give up so much. Hey, Dae-jun squeezed her hand. Look at me. You're not asking me to give up anything. I'm choosing this. Choosing you and Jada and the life we can build together. That's not sacrifice. That's finally getting what I've always wanted. Daniela wanted to believe him, wanted it so badly. But Seo-yeon's words kept echoing in her mind. Are you worth the sacrifice? She didn't know the answer. Wasn't sure she ever would. But as Jada came running over, music box clutched carefully in both hands, chattering about how she wanted to show it to all her friends at preschool. Daniela decided that maybe the answer didn't matter. Maybe what mattered was that they were trying, that Dae-jun was here, present and committed, that Jada was happy. Maybe that was enough. Come on, she said, standing and pulling Dae-jun up with her. Let's go home. I think we've all had enough excitement for one day. As they walked back to the car, Jada between them holding both their hands, Daniela caught Dae-jun watching her with an expression that made her heart skip. What? She asked. Nothing, he said softly. Just thank you. For giving me this, for giving us a chance. Don't thank me yet, Daniela warned, but she was smiling. The day's not over. Who knows what other relatives might pop out of the woodwork. Dae-jun laughed, and the sound was so genuine, so happy, that Daniela felt some of her worry ease. They'd face whatever came next, together. And somehow, that made all the difference. The week following Seo-yeon's appearance passed in uneasy anticipation. Daniela kept expecting another confrontation, another surprise visit. But nothing happened. Dae-jun mentioned that his sister had texted him a few times. Brief, business-like messages about operations in Seoul, but she hadn't tried to contact Daniela again. Still, The encounter had shifted something, made everything feel more real, more complicated. Daniela found herself lying awake at night, wondering what she'd gotten herself and Jada into. "You're doing it again," Bethany said Thursday afternoon, catching Daniela staring off into space, while a cappuccino overflowed. "Earth to Yana. The cup's full." "Sorry," Daniela muttered, quickly shutting off the steam wand. "Just distracted." "By tall, dark, and dangerous?" Bethany grinned. "Girl, I don't blame you. If someone that fine was looking at me the way he looks at you, I'd be distracted too." "It's not like that," Daniela protested, but she couldn't help smiling. "Okay, maybe it's a little like that, but it's complicated." "The best things usually are," Bethany said wisely. "How's Jada handling everything?" "She's thriving, actually. Having Dae-Jun around has been good for her. She's more confident, happier. I just worry about what happens if things don't work out. If he has to go back to Seoul, or if his family causes problems, or—" "Stop borrowing trouble," Bethany interrupted. "Deal with what's in front of you, not what might happen 6 months from now." Good advice, Daniela thought. If only she could actually follow it. That evening, Dae-Jun picked Jada up, from preschool as usual, but instead of bringing her straight home, he texted, "Taking Jada somewhere special. Meet us at Goodale Park at 6. Daniela's curiosity was piqued, but she agreed. When she arrived at the park just before 6, she found Dae-Jun and Jada setting up what looked like an elaborate picnic. Blankets, cushions, and a basket that smelled amazing. "What's all this?" Daniela asked, approaching slowly. "Appa said we're having a fancy dinner," Jada announced, twirling in her dress. "He even let me pick out this outfit special." "She has excellent taste," Dae-Jun said, smiling. "Just like her mother." Daniela felt her cheeks warm. She was still in her work clothes, jeans and the cafe's t-shirt. But the way Dae-Jun looked at her made her feel beautiful anyway. They settled on the blankets, and Dae-Jun unpacked containers of food. Some Korean dishes Daniela recognized from their college days, plus Jada's favorites. There was even a small cake decorated with butterflies. "What's the occasion?" Daniela asked suspiciously. "Does there need to be one?" Dae-Jun countered. "Can't I just want to do something nice for my 2 favorite people?" "I'm your favorite," Jada gasped dramatically. "What about Aunt Seo-yeon?" Dae-Jun's expression flickered, but he recovered quickly. "You and your mama are in a completely different category. The most favorite category." Jada seemed satisfied with that answer and dove into her food with enthusiasm. As the sun set and the park lights began to glow, Daniela found herself relaxing despite her earlier anxiety. This was nice. Normal. Good. After dinner, while Jada chased fireflies nearby, Dae-Jun moved closer to Daniela on the blanket. "I've been thinking," he said quietly, "about what Seo-yeon said, about whether this is fair to you." "Dae-Jun, let me finish," he interrupted gently. "She was wrong about a lot of things, but she was right about one. My world is dangerous, complicated, and by being with me, you and Jada are accepting risks that you shouldn't have to accept." Daniela's stomach dropped. "Are you breaking up with me? Because if this is some noble sacrifice thing—" "No," he said quickly, taking her hand. "God, no. The opposite, actually. I'm saying, I want to make this official, real. I want us to be a family in every sense of the word. But I need you to go into this with your eyes open, to understand what you're agreeing to." "I know what I'm agreeing to," Daniela said. "A man who's complicated and has a demanding job and family drama. Welcome to the club, Dae-Jun. Everyone has baggage." "Not like mine," he said seriously. "Yana, there are things I haven't told you. Details about my work, about the people I deal with. I kept them from you because I wanted to protect you, but that's not fair. You deserve full transparency." Daniela's heart was racing. "Okay, tell me." Dae-Jun took a deep breath. "The import business I run here, it's legitimate, but it's also a front. A way to move money, to maintain connections, to keep influence in certain circles. I don't deal drugs or weapons or anything truly harmful, but I facilitate things, help people who need help, for a price. Information brokerage mostly, conflict resolution, sometimes protection. Like what you did with Trevor, Daniela said slowly. Exactly like that. I have resources, connections, ways of making problems disappear. It's not strictly legal, but it's not evil either. More like operating in the gray areas. And your sister? What does she do? Similar things, but on a larger scale. She runs the Soul operations, maintains our family's position in the power structure there. She's ruthless when she needs to be, but fair. Our father taught us both that reputation is everything. You honor your word, you protect your people, and you never show weakness. Daniela processed this, trying to reconcile the man in front of her with the picture he was painting. So you're, like, what? The Korean mob? Dae-jun winced. That's a very American way of putting it, but essentially, yes. Though we prefer to think of ourselves as a business organization with unconventional methods. And you want me and Jada to be part of this world? Daniela wasn't sure how she felt about that. Scared, definitely. But also, oddly not surprised. She'd known there was more to Dae-jun's story, known his life wasn't simple. I want you to be part of my world, Dae-jun corrected. Which includes some complicated elements, yes. But Yana, I swear to you, I will never let anything touch you or Jada. You'll be protected, always. Not just by me, but by my entire organization. Nobody would dare threaten you. Because threatening us would be threatening you, Daniela said, understanding dawning. Exactly. In my world, family is sacred. Untouchable. By claiming you and Jada as mine. And I am claiming you, if you'll let me. I'm putting the full weight of my protection behind you. Anyone who hurts you answers to me. It should have been scary, should have sent her running. But instead, Daniela felt safe, cherished, chosen. Okay, she said finally. Dae-jun blinked. Okay? Just like that? Just like that, Daniela confirmed. I mean, it's a lot to process, and I'm probably going to have a million questions later, but yeah, okay. I'm in. You're in, Dae-jun repeated, something like wonder in his voice. Even knowing what you know now, you're choosing this, choosing me. I chose you 4 years ago, Daniela reminded him. This doesn't change that. Just add some extra context. Dae-jun pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box. Daniela's heart stopped. I'm not proposing, he said quickly, seeing her expression. Not yet, anyway. Not until we've rebuilt what we had, earned back what I destroyed. But I want you to have this. He opened the box to reveal a delicate gold bracelet with 3 small charms. A butterfly, a coffee cup, and a tiny elephant. The butterfly for Jada, he explained softly. The coffee cup for where we met. And the elephant, because you told me once that elephants never forget. That they mourn their dead and protect their young and remember everything important. Like you do. Daniela's eyes stung with tears. Dae-jun, let me, he said, taking the bracelet out and fastening it around her wrist. The metal was warm from being in his pocket, and it fit perfectly. There. Now you're carrying a piece of us with you, always. Before Daniela could respond, Jada came running back, a firefly cupped carefully in her hands. Look, look! I caught one. Can we keep it? Fireflies need to be free, baby girl, Daniela said, wiping her eyes quickly. But you can make a wish before you let it go. Jada closed her eyes tight, her face scrunched in concentration. Then she opened her hands, and the firefly took off into the darkening sky, its light blinking on and off. What did you wish for? Dae-jun asked. Can't tell, Jada said primly. It won't come true if I tell. But it was a good wish, the best wish ever. Daniela met Daejun's eyes over their daughter's head, and she saw her own hope reflected there. Maybe wishes could come true. Maybe second chances were possible. Maybe they really could make this work. 2 days later, everything fell apart. Daniela was at work when her phone rang. Carolyn, her voice tight with panic. "Yana, you need to come home. Now." "What's wrong? Is it Joda?" "Joda's fine, she's with me. But there are people at your apartment. Men in suits. They said they're from immigration, and they need to speak with you immediately." Daniela's blood turned to ice. "Immigration? I'm a citizen, Carolyn. What are they talking about?" "I don't know, but they're not leaving. And Yana, they mentioned Daejun, asked if you knew him, if he'd been staying at your apartment." Daniela hung up and immediately called Daejun. He answered on the first ring. "Yana, I was just about to call you. There are immigration agents at my apartment." She cut him off. "What's going on?" Silence. Then, "I'll handle it. Don't talk to them. Don't answer any questions. I'm on my way." "Daejun, what is going on?" "It's Seo Yan," he said grimly. "She made a move. I should have seen it coming, should have prepared better. Just stay at the cafe. Don't go home until I call you back." But Daniela was already grabbing her purse, ignoring Bethany's protests. "I'm not hiding. This is my apartment. My life. If your sister thinks she can intimidate me..." "It's not about intimidation," Daejun interrupted. "It's about control. She's trying to prove that you're a liability, that being with you puts me in vulnerable positions. Please, Yana, trust me. Let me handle this." Every instinct screamed at Daniela to rush home, to face whatever was waiting. But something in Daejun's voice made her pause. Fear. Real, genuine fear. "Fine," she said. "But you'd better fix this, Daejun. Because if Jada gets caught in the crossfire of your family drama..." "She won't," he promised. "I swear to you, Yana, I'll fix this." The next 3 hours were the longest of Daniela's life. She stayed at the cafe, unable to focus on anything, jumping every time her phone buzzed. Bethany kept trying to get details, but Daniela didn't know what to tell her. Didn't understand what was happening herself. Finally, Daejun called back. "It's done. They're gone. You can go home." What did they want? What did Seo Yan do? "Meet me at your apartment. I'll explain everything." When Daniela arrived home, she found Daejun sitting on her couch, looking more exhausted than she'd ever seen him. Carolyn had taken Jada to her place for the night, sensing the adults needed to talk. "Start talking," Daniela demanded, arms crossed. Daejun rubbed his face. "Seo Yan filed a complaint with immigration claiming I was in the country illegally. Said my visa had expired, that I was conducting business without proper authorization. It was completely fabricated, but it triggered an investigation. They came here looking for evidence that I'd been living with you, which would complicate my status further." "But you haven't been living here," Daniela pointed out. "No, but I've been here often enough that it could be argued. Seo Yan was counting on that. She wanted to create a situation where I'd have to choose. Deal with the legal headache, which would require me to go back to Seoul to sort out the paperwork, or stay here and risk actual deportation." "That's insane," Daniela said flatly. "She'd really sabotage her own brother like that." "She sees it as saving me from myself," Daejun said tiredly. "In her mind, you're the problem. Remove you from the equation, and I'll come back to Seoul where I belong." "So what did you do? How did you make them leave?" "I called in some favors, proved my visa was current, that all my business. Dealings were legitimate and properly documented. It wasn't hard. I keep meticulous records for exactly this kind of situation." "But Yana..." He looked up at her, and the vulnerability in his eyes was heartbreaking. "This is what being with me looks like. This is the kind of thing my family will do. Seo Yan won't stop. She'll keep pushing, keep testing, keep trying to prove that you're not worth the trouble." And what do you think? Daniela asked quietly. Am I worth the trouble? You're worth everything, Dae-jun said fiercely. But I can't keep putting you through this. Can't keep dragging you into my family's dysfunction. Maybe Seo-yeon is right. Maybe the kindest thing I can do is walk away before— Don't you dare, Daniela interrupted, surprised by her own vehemence. Don't you dare make that decision for me. I'm a grown woman, Dae-jun. I can decide what I'm willing to deal with. And yes, your sister is a piece of work. And yes, this is complicated and messy and sometimes scary. But you know what? I don't care. I choose this. I choose you. I choose us. Dae-jun stared at her. Even after today? Even knowing Seo-yeon will probably try again? Especially after today, Daniela said firmly. Because you handled it. You protected me and Jada without me even having to ask. You kept your promise. That means something. I love you, Dae-jun said suddenly. I know I shouldn't just blurt it out like this. I know we said we'd take things slow, but I love you, Yana. I loved you 4 years ago. I loved you every single day I was gone. And I love you now. That's never going to change. Daniela felt tears prick her eyes. I love you too. You impossible, complicated, frustrating man. I love you so much, it terrifies me. Dae-jun stood and crossed to her, cupping her face in his hands. Then let's be terrified together. Let's build something strong enough to withstand whatever my family throws at us. Strong enough to last. Yes, Daniela whispered. Let's do that. He leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead, then her cheeks, then the tip of her nose. Sweet, chaste kisses that somehow felt more intimate than anything else. Thank you, he murmured against her skin. For choosing me. For believing in us. For being braver than I deserve. You deserve everything good, Daniela said, pulling back to look at him. And I'm going to spend however long it takes convincing you of that. They held each other for a long moment, finding comfort in the closeness. Then Daniela's phone buzzed with a text from Carolyn. Jada's asleep. You two figure things out? We should probably get her, Daniela said reluctantly. It's getting late. In a minute, Dae-jun said, not letting go. Just let me hold you for a minute. Let me remember what I'm fighting for. So they stood there in her small apartment, wrapped in each other's arms, and Daniela felt something settle in her chest. Peace, maybe. Or certainty. Whatever happened next, whatever challenges Seo-yeon or anyone else threw at them, they'd face it together. And that made all the difference. The confrontation with Seo-yeon came 3 days later. Dae-jun had invited her to dinner at a Korean restaurant in downtown Columbus. Neutral territory, where they could talk without Jada overhearing. Daniela dressed carefully that evening, wanting to look confident and put together. She chose a simple black dress that Carolyn had insisted she buy for job interviews, but had never worn. With her hair pulled back and the bracelet Dae-jun had given her on her wrist, she felt ready for battle. You look beautiful, Dae-jun said when he picked her up. And terrifying. It's a good combination. I'm going for don't mess with me, Daniela admitted. Think it's working? Definitely, he assured her. Seo-yeon won't know what hit her. But when they arrived at the restaurant, Seo-yeon wasn't alone. She'd brought another woman, older, elegant, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Mother, Dae-jun said, his voice carefully neutral. I wasn't expecting you. Clearly, the woman replied in accented English. Seo-yeon told me you'd been difficult. I decided to see for myself what could possibly be so compelling about this American life you've chosen. So this was Dae-jun's mother. Daniela felt her carefully constructed confidence waver. 1, disapproving family member she could handle. 2, felt like an ambush. Mrs. Park, Daniela said, offering her hand. It's nice to meet you. The woman looked at Daniela's hand like it might bite, then, surprisingly, took it. Her grip was firm, assessing. You may call me Jin-ai, and you are Daniela, the woman who has so thoroughly captivated my son. I'd like to think it's mutual, Daniela replied, refusing to be intimidated. I'm sure you would, Jenny said dryly. She gestured to the table. Shall we sit? I've taken the liberty of ordering. I hope you don't have dietary restrictions. The meal that followed was one of the most uncomfortable experiences of Daniela's life. Jenny asked pointed questions about her background, her education, her family, her plans for the future. Each question felt like a test, and Daniela couldn't tell if she was passing or failing. My daughter tells me you have a child, Jenny said eventually, her tone carefully neutral. Daejun's child, apparently. Yes, Jada. She's 4, and she's wonderful. I'm sure she is, Jenny said. 4 years old, which means she was conceived while my son was in graduate school, yes? Before he came back to Seoul? Yes, Daniela confirmed, not sure where this was going. And yet you never contacted him, never told him he had a daughter. Why? I tried, Daniela said, her voice rising slightly. I called, I texted, I went to his apartment, but he was already gone. Vanished. I had no way to reach him. Convenient, Seo Yan muttered. Enough, Daejun said sharply. Mother, why are you here? What do you want? Jin-ai set down her chopsticks carefully. I want to understand, Daejun. Your father and I raised you to understand duty, responsibility, family obligation. We gave you every advantage, every opportunity. And now you want to throw it all away for what? A woman you barely know anymore and a child you've only just met? I love them, Daejun said simply. Isn't that enough? Love is a luxury, Jin-ae said coldly, not a necessity. Your father loved me, but he also understood that his responsibilities came first. That's what made him a great man. That's what made him a lonely man, Daejun countered. He told me once, near the end. He said if he could do it over, he'd spend less time building the empire and more time with his family. With you. With us. He regretted it, Mother. All those choices he made for duty instead of love. Something flickered in Jin-ae's expression. Pain, quickly suppressed. Your father said many things when he was dying. Illness makes people sentimental. Or honest, Daejun said. Maybe he was finally being honest about what mattered. And I'm choosing not to make his mistakes. I'm choosing to put my family, this family, first. You have responsibilities in Seoul, Jin-ae insisted. People who depend on you. You can't just abandon them. I'm not abandoning anyone, Daejun said patiently. I've set up systems, delegated authority. The operations run smoothly without me micromanaging. And on the rare occasions when I'm needed, I'm a phone call away. This isn't abandonment. It's evolution. It's weakness, Seo Yan spat. Father would be ashamed. Father is dead, Daejun shouted, causing nearby diners to turn and stare. He lowered his voice with visible effort. He's dead, and nothing we do will change that. I'm tired of living my life trying to please a ghost. I'm making my own choices now, and I choose them. He reached across the table and took Daniela's hand, holding it where everyone could see. The boy gesture was defiant, claiming final. Jin-ae watched this display, her expression unreadable. Finally, she said, Show me. Show you what? Daejun asked warily. This life you've chosen. This woman. This child. Let me see what's so worth sacrificing everything for. If they're truly as important as you claim, prove it. Daejun looked at Daniela, silently asking permission. She took a deep breath and nodded. Okay. Come to dinner tomorrow, at my apartment. Meet Jada properly. See what your son has been building here. Jin-ae studied her for a long moment, then inclined her head. Very well. Tomorrow evening? Don't disappoint me. The next day passed in a blur of panic cleaning and cooking. Daniela wanted everything to be perfect, not to impress Jin-ae necessarily, but to show her that this life Daejun had chosen was real, was good. was worth staying for. Carolyn came over to help, and Bethany sent encouraging texts every hour. Even Jada seemed to sense the importance of the evening, offering to clean her room without being asked. "Mama, why are you so nervous?" Jada asked, watching Daniela fuss with the table settings for the third time. "Is Appa's mama scary?" "Not scary," Daniela said carefully. "Just important. She's deciding whether she's going to be okay with me and you being part of your daddy's life." "But we're already part of his life," Jada said, confused. "We see him all the time." "I know, baby. But it's complicated with families sometimes. They have to adjust." The doorbell rang at exactly 6 o'clock. Daniela smoothed down her dress one last time and went to answer it, Jada bouncing excitedly beside her. Janae stood in the hallway, and for the first time since Daniela had met her, she looked uncertain. Her eyes went immediately to Jada, cataloging every detail: the dark hair, the familiar features, the bright smile. "Hello," Jada said politely, just like Daniela had practiced with her. "You must be my Halmoni. That means grandmother in Korean, right?" "Appa taught me." Janae's composure cracked, just for a second, but Daniela saw it. The flash of emotion quickly controlled. "Yes," she said softly. "That's right. And you were Jada." "Uh-huh. Do you want to see my room? I cleaned it special for you. And I can show you my music box that Aunt Seo-Yan gave me, and my drawings and—" "Jada," Daniela interrupted gently. "Let Halmoni come inside first, okay?" They moved into the apartment, and Daniela watched Janae's eyes sweep the space, taking in the photos on the walls, the toys in the corner, the homework papers held to the fridge with magnets. Evidence of the life Daniela and Jada had built. Modest, but full of love. Dinner was surprisingly pleasant. Janae was formal but not hostile, asking Jada questions about preschool, about her favorite things, about her drawings. Jada, for her part, chattered away without any shyness, completely charming the older woman, despite her best efforts to remain aloof. After dinner, while Jada showed Janae her collection of rocks from the park, Dae-Jun helped Daniela clean up in the kitchen. "It's going well," he murmured. "Better than I expected." "She's thawing," Daniela agreed. "I can see it. The way she looks at Jada. There's love there. She just doesn't want to admit it yet." "My mother's always been like that," Dae-Jun said. "Slow to warm up but fierce once she commits. If we can win her over, if she accepts you and Jada as family, Seo-Yan will have to fall in line. And if we can't win her over—" Dae-Jun set down the dish he'd been washing and pulled Daniela close. "Then we build our family anyway. Just the three of us. Plus whoever we choose to include. Blood doesn't define family. Love does." Before Daniela could respond, Jada's voice called from the living room. "Mama, Appa! Halmoni wants to tell me a story about when Appa was little." They returned to find Janae on the couch, Jada cuddled against her side, looking more relaxed than Daniela had seen her yet. "When your father was about your age," Janae was saying, "he decided he wanted to be a dinosaur hunter. He dug holes all over our garden looking for fossils. His father was so angry about the mess." "Did he find any fossils?" Jada asked breathlessly. "Not a single one," Janae said, and there was warmth in her voice now, genuine warmth. "But he never gave up trying. That's your father. Stubborn as they come." She looked up at Dae-Jun and Daniela standing in the doorway, and something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Or acceptance. "She's wonderful," Janae said quietly. "Both of them are. I see why you chose this, Dae-Jun. I understand now." Dae-Jun's expression was pure relief. "Does this mean—" "It means," Janae said carefully, "that I won't stand in your way. If this is truly what you want, truly where you belong, then I'll support your decision, and I'll make sure Seo-Yan does the same." "Thank you, Mother," Dae-Jun said, his voice thick with emotion. "That means everything." Janae stood, gently extricating herself from Jada's grip. I should go. It's late, and I have a flight tomorrow. You're leaving already? Jada's face fell. But you just got here. I'll visit again, Janae promised, and Daniela believed her. And perhaps you could all come to Seoul sometime. I would like to show you where your father grew up, introduce you to your cousins. I have cousins? Jada's eyes went wide. How many? Do they like dinosaurs? Janae smiled. A real, genuine smile. Several. And I'm sure they'll love you just as much as I do. At the door, she paused and turned to Daniela. Take care of my son. He's more fragile than he looks, more sentimental than he admits. He needs someone strong beside him, someone who won't let him sacrifice himself for duty. I will, Daniela promised. And thank you for giving us a chance. Janae reached out and touched Daniela's cheek, the gesture surprisingly tender. Thank you for loving him, for giving him the family he always deserved. After she left, Dae-jun let out a long breath. I can't believe that just happened. I fully expected her to forbid me from seeing you ever again. She loves you, Daniela said simply, and she wants you to be happy. It just took her seeing what makes you happy to understand. They put Jada to bed together, reading her an extra story, because she was so excited about having a grandmother and cousins. When she finally drifted off, still clutching her music box, Daniela and Dae-jun stood in the doorway watching her sleep. We did it, Dae-jun whispered. We actually did it. We got through the worst of it. Don't jinx it, Daniela whispered back, but she was smiling. There'll be other challenges, other obstacles. But we'll face them together, Dae-jun said confidently. The three of us. A family. A family, Daniela echoed, and the word had never sounded better. 6 months later, Daniela stood in her new kitchen. Not the cramped apartment kitchen, but a real house with a yard where Jada could play. Dae-jun had insisted on buying it, saying their family needed space to grow. Their family. It still gave her butterflies. Mama! Jada called from outside. Come see what Appa and I made. Daniela stepped out to find them putting the finishing touches on a treehouse, or what Dae-jun optimistically called a treehouse. It looked more like a platform with walls, but Jada was thrilled. It's perfect, Daniela declared, climbing up the ladder to join them. The best treehouse in all of Columbus. Wait until you see inside, Jada said, pulling her through the small doorway. We put cushions and blankets and everything. It was cozy inside, with fairy lights strung along the walls and a box of Jada's favorite books in the corner. Through the window, Daniela could see their neighbors. Carolyn had moved to a house just down the street, claiming she couldn't bear to be too far from them. What do you think? Dae-jun asked, wrapping his arms around Daniela from behind. I think it's perfect, she said honestly. All of it. This house, this life, this family. Good, he murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple. Because I was thinking, maybe it's time to make it official. He pulled a ring from his pocket. Simple, elegant, with a small diamond that caught the light filtering through the treehouse window. Daniela Park, he said softly, while Jada watched with barely contained excitement. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of you and Jada? That I'll never leave again, never disappear, never stop fighting for this family we've built. Daniela looked at the ring, then at Dae-jun's hopeful face, then at Jada practically vibrating with anticipation. She thought about everything they'd been through, the pain, the doubt, the obstacles, and she thought about everything still to come. The challenges they'd face, the joy they'd share, the life they'd build together. Yes, she said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, 1,000 times. Yes. Dae-jun slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her hands. Jada threw her arms around both of them, squealing with delight. Does this mean we're really a family now? She asked. We've always been a family, baby girl, Daniela said, pulling her close. Always and forever. And standing there in their homemade treehouse, wrapped in the arms of the people she loved most, Daniela knew it was true. They'd faced down disapproving family members, dangerous enemies, and their own fears. They'd built something real, something lasting, something worth fighting for. This was their happy ending. Or maybe, Daniela thought, it was just their happy beginning. Either way, she couldn't wait to see what came next. Thanks so much for sticking with Daniela, Dai Jun, and little Jada's journey. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me which part got you most emotional. Don't forget to subscribe because we've got more amazing love stories coming your way real soon.